Look at that. Look at that fucking scoreline there. What a fucking joke. What a fucking joke we have become. It's embarrassing. Absolute shower of shit, mate. I can't believe we've ended up losing a game like that. Two shite football teams going blow for blow. Who's the best? Who's going to be the shittest out of the two? It seemed like we were trying our best to make sure it was us today after that fucking last 5 minutes. I've got a massive apology to send out to my regular viewers who were tuned into that watch long because I had a fucking power cut, mate. Somehow I've gone downstairs, flicked all the switches back on the main hub and got the fucking power back on. I said at the beginning, I get power cuts randomly around this area. I need to fucking sort it out, call my electricity board or whatever it is. But I had a power cut about 30 seconds before United went and scored. So there's going to be people who think that I ran away from the game. I ran away from the fact that United went and scored and just equalised. And while I'm flicking about the switches downstairs, like, oh, I can't believe it, power cut. Oh, the watch long, I'm so sorry, everybody, blah, blah, blah. I come back upstairs and they've scored again. They've scored again. Are you having a fucking laugh? I can't believe this shit that we're watching now. You have to laugh. You have to laugh. There's no other solution. Otherwise, you're going to walk in front of a fucking bus, mate. Like, what the fuck? I can't believe we've just gone and lost that game. I mean, I said Ahmad was going to be the one who's going to do it. The only United player that was a genuine threat. But, I mean, Nunes, mate. Nunes, his stock value at Manchester City's been poor since he arrived. There's been question marks over his arrival. And I feel for the guy today. I feel for him. That is a mistake you cannot make. You cannot make that mistake. And again, once again, Manchester City making mistakes. See, it's Christmas. It's come fucking early at the Etihad. The most charitable football club in the country right now is Manchester City. Do you want a present? Do you want a gift? Then come to the Etihad, mate. Come to play Manchester City, home or away. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where we fucking play. We could play on fucking Hackney fucking Marshes down in London and fucking dodging fucking dog shits in Sunday League football and we'd still be gifting people every fucking team in the world. Do you want a gift? Here you go. Here's a goal. Here's another goal. Here's another fucking goal. It's embarrassing, mate. And in the Manchester derby, the pride of Manchester was up for grabs today and you've thrown it away, you shambolic fucking excuses, mate. Absolutely disgraceful, man. It is disgraceful to see them do that. 1-1 was going to be irate me. I was going to be fucking fuming at 1-1. 1-1 was enough. 2-1 to lose the game like that. It's a disgrace, man. The club is in a fucking mess right now in terms of the team. It's not the club. The club's not in a mess. I take that back. The club is not in a mess. The team is in a mess. The club has a lot of work to do. The club has created this mess, though. That's the point. The club has allowed these circumstances, resting on our laurels in the transfer market, allowing certain players to go out of date. Do you know what I mean? The sell-by date on some of these players has been and fucking gone, mate. It's gone for too many of them. Too many of them. William, thanks for the super chat, mate. I'm just going to check out until January, says William. I don't blame you, mate. I just don't blame you. I think I might do the fucking same. Especially if I have no electricity. I have no alternative but to check out. But can you believe the embarrassment that we've just seen? I'm absolutely just gobsmacked, mate. I'm gobsmacked because it's not like they deserve to win. Do you know what I mean? They didn't deserve to win that game. Neither did we, really. I'd say a draw probably would have been a fair result. I don't think they did enough to win that game. But it doesn't matter. You don't need to do enough when you play Manchester City. 'Cause we'll give it you, mate. We will give it you. We'll fucking gift wrap a little bow, sprinkle some fucking glitter on it, and fucking... There, mate. Enjoy your goal. There you go. Fucking hell. Again. Gift after fucking gift from this shower. I'm going to fucking have an aneurysm or something. My fucking head just fucking popped. Something in my head, my brain just went, you need to calm down, mate. You need to calm down or one of your eyeballs is going to pop out funny. Do you know what I mean? Jesus Christ. I honestly, I don't know where to go from here. There's so many problems. The plan was to win today. Do you know what I mean? Arsenal and Liverpool have gained a point on us this weekend. They have gained a... They were shit yesterday, Arsenal. Absolute embarrassment yesterday, Arsenal were. Fucking sham. Liverpool, they could walk off that pitch with their heads held high because they went down to 10 men And they grafted out a fucking point in a game that was fucking very unlikely to get a point. Because Fulham looked fucking decent, mate. They turned up and they were very good. Very good Fulham yesterday. But Liverpool, they fought. That's the sort of result they'll look back on and go, that was a great point. That was a great point. And it was a great point. Because you've gained on us. You've actually gained on us in a situation where all we had to do was beat this mid-table shower of shit mediocrity that call themselves Manchester United. They are shit, mate. They're crap. And they've just beaten us. It's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to be beaten by this pile of fucking Beatles shit. Whatever you want to call it. Crap. United. Crap. They are so poor, United. There was a moment in the second half where it was just pass after pass, mate. Pass after pass. Just get to each other. I mean, like City, Bernardo Silva's got the ball. Who's Mazraoui's free? There you go, mate. Mazraoui. Mazraoui's got it now. Who's fucking De Bruyne? There you go, mate. The fucking two teams. It was just like a fucking circus between the two of them of who could be the shittest, and they were both just giving it each other in the midfield. I can't believe that we've allowed that to slip through our fingers. We were going to walk away with a potential. I mean, I'm clutching at straws to say a season turning point. Do you know what I mean? No. Do you know what I mean? We need 3 or 4 wins in a row to even start talking about the season being a win. But come on, lads. Like, that game was there to be won. And I mean, Matheus Nunes, to do the first mistake, it is awful. Huge mistake. To get back was great. You got back and you actually slowed Ahmad down. I don't think he was going to score from that situation. Ederson came out. Ahmad looked lost. He didn't know what to do in that situation. No worries though. Nunes is going to fucking ram one right up your fucking arse and give yourself a penalty. No worries. Do you know what I mean? Fuck me, man. Like, why you made the first mistake? Go back, get in his way, block him, chill the situation, put a fucking lid on it, mate, and calm down the situation. And then we can steal this fucking game and win the game and get 3 points. Instead, you go and fucking boot him. What a fucking diabolical defending from Matheus Nunes. Well, I mean, how did he actually play in the game? I don't think Nunes was that bad, but I mean, we don't need to talk about players' performances when you have individual mistakes in our squad. You can pick any player this season and you can look at the mistakes they've made this season. Any player. Pick a single player and I can point to you mistakes that they've made in multiple matches. Multiple matches. Every single one of them is a fucking culprit. And I mean, Nunes today, who didn't have a bad game until then, it was like, wow, you've just ruined the whole match for everybody. Absolute devastating. Franz, mate, thanks for the super chat. Do you think we will sack Pep? No. Put that one in the bin. Definitely not. Fair question, because I mean, it's getting to that point where I think people will start asking that question now. But no, absolutely not. No way for Pep. But you want a pragmatic approach now? I'm trying to, like, put a lid on my emotions, speaking of putting a lid on it, because I'm absolutely fucking fuming. I'm fuming that I ruined the watch long for people as well, the final 5 minutes of the game where I just went and disappeared. And you thought I did it then again, didn't you? Power cut again. Sorry, everybody, first of all. So big apology to everybody for disappearing in the watch long. Can't be helped. Power cut. I just went black in here. And I was just like fucking frantically running around like, and yeah, end of stream. Sorry about that. Anyway, pragmatic approach now to what is actually going wrong with Manchester City, because I don't like some of the opinions I've seen from certain City fans that to say we need to drop deeper. Pep needs to adapt is the things that people want to see from Manchester City. Adapting is one thing, but completely changing your philosophy is another thing. So in terms of Manchester City dropping deeper, you want to drop deeper, invite pressure onto this defence that we saw today. You know what I mean? Like, you want to invite pressure on. That's the plan, is drop deeper. Create a bigger gap between midfield and defence in the transition between breaking out from the back. Create that bigger gap, first of all, then drop deeper when we don't have the ball. Inviting players onto our defence, basically, attackers on. That's a terrible idea for me. A terrible, terrible idea. Then you look at the club right now, the state we're in, which I'll get onto the reasons why we're in, but the facts are we are in a complete mess. We are in a vicious cycle of injuries right now, because you can't call it an excuse, though, because the club are to blame to being in this situation for a number of players that are renowned, injury-prone players. Not Rodri, but De Bruyne. He's missing for half a season every season. He's always missing, Kevin De Bruyne. We can't hang our hat on him and say, yeah, when he comes back, he might save our season for the final 2 or 3 months of the season. He's a quality player. He was nowhere near good enough today, but the facts are Kevin De Bruyne isn't available enough, so that we can't trust him. You look at Kyle Walker. And you look at the decision to go into that restaurant and persuade him to stay. Massive mistake. I think we should have let him go and force our hand in the transfer market to go and get a replacement right back, a young, fresh, and that would be one more player closer to the next generation of players. That alone could have been a big, big difference. I actually think that the club took a huge, huge risk in selling Alvarez. Something I've never spoke about on this channel is the sale of, other than the money that we got for him, I spoke about it in that sense because it was such a large amount of money that I'm starting to regret selling it for that amount, even though the amount's good, the player going is the bad problem. And then the risk was not replacing him. That was the risk. Because you don't need to look at Kevin De Bruyne and the lack of ability from him, because last season Alvarez did that job. Alvarez stepped in. You think about last season, it was this stage of the season last season where Kevin De Bruyne went missing. Alvarez comes in and fills the void of Kevin De Bruyne. That's exactly what happened last season. Alvarez was the man last season. He dwindled, Alvarez, eventually, and that role, where eventually he was playing left wing on occasions last season. Alvarez was just a square peg constantly being put in round holes across that midfield for Manchester City last season. There was a spell last season for 6-7 games where it worked. He was getting goals, he was getting assists, and he was doing his job, mate. He was filling in the gap for Kevin De Bruyne and making us realise, well, we're not missing Kevin De Bruyne. Alvarez was the man for that. To not replace him was absolutely a catastrophic mistake. People talk about Rodri. I think that was a minor risk. To not get more cover for him, because we did have cover for him in Kovacic. Blaming it on not signing another player to play alongside Rodri, I don't think that's a big area. No one can predict a player being out for the season. No football club can operate like that. We need to sign a player in case that player is out for the season. If you applied that logic to every single player in every single position, you would need 3 players in every single position, at least. Because what's to say that next player doesn't get out for a season? Where do you stop? Where do you draw the line if you keep assuming or planning for the worst case scenario with every player? Do you know what I mean? You can't plan for that. You can plan for for Rodri to be out for 2 or 3 months. Kovacic steps in for that amount of time and we probably like paper over the cracks a little bit and maybe get away with it. Maybe. But the vicious cycle has happened, and the unfortunate circumstances of Rodri being out for the season, that's killed us, because Kovacic now we're overly dependent on Kovacic, who then picks up an injury as a result of the dependency on him. You look at the Akanji situation, the amount of minutes he had to play, because Ruben Diaz was out for an amount of time. Because Ruben Diaz was out for ages, we had to play Akanji, and we burnt him out. And now Akanji picks up an injury, and then just as Ruben Diaz comes back, Akanji's out. Do you know what I mean? It's a vicious cycle of injuries that we're in right now. It's awful what we're doing right now, and the dominoes are just tumbling at Manchester City. But for me, it's the Alvarez deal. Not getting a replacement for Alvarez was criminal, mate. It was criminal. It was a massive, massive mistake. Because you can't forget what he did. He's not just cover for Haaland. He dropped deep. He played as a 10. He created. He's not ideal. He's not perfect in that De Bruyne role. But he did a job for us last season. He got us through this spell. And it was the exact same point in the year, the calendar year I'm talking about, where De Bruyne went missing and Alvarez played all these games in a row in that deep number 10 position. That's where Alvarez was playing all season, most of the season last season. And although I think towards the second half of the season, Alvarez just dwindled and he realised that his importance to this squad is not first team quality, because Kevin De Bruyne comes back, Alvarez straight on the bench. Puts his hand up in the summer and says, I want to leave. Atletico Madrid are interested in me. Off you go, Alvarez. Sorry. To not replace him, that was the mistake. Because I think there's a lot of creativity that's just dead. It's dead. And then to not have backup for Kevin De Bruyne, who's guaranteed to go and pick up another injury this season. He's already been out for most of this season. He'll definitely pick up another one. Of course he will. Kevin De Bruyne, he can't be trusted from an injury perspective. I love him. I adore him. But you got to call it for what it is, lads. We've got to call it for what it is. He's not fit. He's not fit enough. He's got broken muscles. Do you know what I mean? His muscles don't just let him down. And I feel for the guy, man. It's just the circumstances. People are more injury prone than certain people. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. But to not get cover for Kevin De Bruyne was an absolute joke. It was a joke. I'm so disappointed in that decision. You look at the recruitment from City in the wide areas now. You start looking at Doku, who I was incredibly excited about, but the more time goes on for Manchester City, the more I look at Jeremy Doku and think he is not going to blossom into the player we think he can blossom into. I think there's potentially a good player, a hell of a player there, but he's just not consistent enough. It's one game of absolute brilliance, and then the next 2 or 3 is just like frustratingly anonymous. And it's not anonymous in like eyeballs on him. He's very entertaining to look at. He's edge of the seat material, isn't he? But end product, mate, you've got to deliver. You've got to deliver. Leroy Sané, what are you thinking? 10 to 15 GNA? Raheem Sterling, 20, 25 GNA. Riyad Mahrez, 15 to 20, maybe more GNA. You know? Who else have we had? We've had multiple wingers over the years that you just think to deliver goals and assists. You think Savinho, who's done absolutely nothing in a City shirt so far this season. I still have hope for him. Done nothing. Doku, nowhere near enough. Jack Grealish, this controlling mid-wingers we have now, Bernardo Silva and Jack Grealish, they are not delivering in GNA. And we are now overly dependent on Erling Haaland to score all our goals. And all the team has to do, the opposition, is just surround Erling Haaland with defenders, and it's nullified. Again, no options off the bench because we haven't got cover for Erling Haaland. Because there is no spark that you can bring on. Haaland just plays every game. And if Haaland has a bad game, we have a bad game. So there's no option to take him off. We had a kid, Divin Mubama, signed from West Ham in the summer. I mean, there was no room for him to come on in this game. But that's our cover for Haaland now. Some 18-year-old who's just an absolute nomad. We don't know who he is. Is he going to be... Can he carry this weight on his shoulders? Absolutely not. No chance, mate. No chance. Josh, thanks very much for the super chat. What a time to be a City fan, mate. It is. Honestly, I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless. I could cry. Well, I choose to laugh if I were you, mate. I would laugh instead. But I mean, an absolute shit show. It really is. And one thing I will say, City will come back from this as a club. We will come back better than ever, I think. I think we will. This is almost a good thing. It's almost because the club have rested on their laurels so much that they have pushed the boat out further and further and further until the fucking holes started to appear in the wooden structure of the boat. And guess what? It sank, mate. It's sinking. We're fucking sinking right now. And it's obvious. So we need to get to land, strap on some fucking bits of tape, fill those holes until the end of the season, and try and get through to the top 4. And then once we hit the summer transfer market, January is not going to save anything for this. Do you know what I mean? Two players coming in is going to fix this. Nah, mate. There's a lot more that needs doing at this football club. A lot more. I'm telling you right now. There's too many areas that need addressing. January is the start of it. It's the first stepping stone. And then in summer, we go and buy a new fucking boat, mate, and then push that out and see how far that can fucking swim for us. We will be fine next season. I'm convinced of that. But it's almost a good thing that we've become so shit because it's the wake-up call that the board will need. They will look at this and go, well, we can't let this carry on. Do you know what I mean? They won't go to Pep and go, Pep, what you doing, mate? You got to sack you. Not Sheikh Mansour, but Ferran Soriano, Cheeky, and Hugo Viana will be heavily involved. But the first two names, Ferran Soriano and Cheeky, will go, Pep, sorry. We've let you down, mate. We have let you down here. Because we have not given you the tools you need to do exactly what you want to do in this season. And it was obvious. It's becoming more and more obvious now. The Alvarez one for me was, I'm just looking at that mistake now from Nunes. It's so ugly, man. So ugly. And then he sprints back and just fucking snaps him. Absolute joke. Yours truly, brackets Pep out, mate. You can't be saying Pep out, man. Come on. These players are better than FC20. Pep, thank you for everything, but your time is up. You cost us a lot. You trash since the Arsenal game, but get out. Mate, I totally disagree. You are entitled to your opinion. Pep is not to blame for this because he's not on the pitch. Can you blame Pep for Matheus Nunes doing what he did there? You can't blame Pep for that. Can you blame Pep for Matheus Nunes even being on the pitch in that position? Well, no, because needs must. Rico Lewis was suspended. Is that Pep's fault as well? No. Is Rodri getting injured Pep's fault? No. Is Kyle Walker having the most catastrophic season ever his fault? Arguably, yes, because that one is where he went and persuaded him to stay. So for me, yes, that one is that one is Pep Guardiola's fault. And now we depend on Kyle Walker. So yeah, that's Pep's fault. But the man is entitled to mistakes, and I don't think that's the season on the whole is Pep Guardiola's fault. It's an amalgamation of multiple problems at this football club right now. Multiple football problems at this football club. And I mean, the board is one thing, but I mean, the cycle and the losing cycle that we are now in, we just can't get out of it. When are we going to win a game again? Do you know what I mean? Or like 1 win in 11 now. Do you know what I mean? You're looking at relegation form. Thank God we got the points we did at the start of the season. I mean, potentially we could say we might be safe, but I mean, we're looking at that staying up. You know, we're not going down or anything like that. We need to be fair about it. But I think the great news as well that came from the pre-match press conference, if you haven't seen it before this game, go and check out Pep Guardiola's pre-match press conference before this game. There was a statement he made, and it was quite early into that pre-match press conference, so you'll hear it quickly if you go and check it out. But he said, I can't remember exactly what he said word for word, but basically along the lines of he's made a mistake with the size of his squad. He thinks maybe 25. He was hinting at the 22, 23-man squad that he likes to have is worth it. You know what I mean? It's worth it to him. He's openly said in an interview now to the world, for every man and his dog to hear, it was a mistake and he needs to change that. And I think he's absolutely right. The squad was too small. You know, he needs to go out and add an extra couple of players for protection. Now, the reason for the small squad to begin with is because he likes a tightly knitted group of players that he can get, you know, get hands-on with, get involved with, and speak to them and get them involved in a smaller group, more understanding, less bitching and moaning because there's less players that are not playing. Do you know what I mean? Players that are going to spend a lot of the season on the bench, a lot of the season coming on substitute appearances. And as a result, those players kick up a fuss, create a potential atmosphere in the dressing room, bitching and moaning to their best mate who's playing all the time, like, I'm not playing, so I'm pissed off. Do you know what I mean? Creating a negative, toxic environment because they don't get the minutes. That risk is worth taking because if you look at the season now, what's the worst that could happen? We have a couple of players that are bitching and moaning about not getting game time. That's the worst case scenario by having a big squad. The worst case scenario by having a small squad is you have no cover and the season is a write-off because you lose your most important player. So which is the risk that's worth taking in that situation? I think Pep's already said it himself and held his hands up and said, yeah, I've made a mistake. I would rather have a bigger squad now. This season has opened his eyes. And even though Pep Guardiola knows more than every single person in the chat put together times a billion in terms of football, everyone in football, everyone, including the professionals and in the actual game itself. He knows more than all of us put together, man. The guy's a fucking genius. Even he can be wrong once in a while. Even he can learn and grow with the game and learn and adapt to these situations. And next season, he's going to have to get a bigger squad because we cannot compensate for the lack of Rodri or the lack of an Alvarez, a Haaland cover. You know, I'm looking at the way we scored as well. It was lucky. To be honest, Kevin De Bruyne's his crossing was shite all day, Kevin De Bruyne, and he gets himself an assist from a deflected cross. The cross was not meant to go on Gvardiol's head like that. It clipped Ahmad and just floated lovely onto the head of Gvardiol. Phil Foden, mate, where is he? How can Pep Guardiola be to blame for Phil Foden turning from player of the season last season to being the most anonymous, ineffective, just a shadow of himself. Just nothing like the Phil Foden we all saw last season. How can that be Pep Guardiola's fault? I don't think that's Pep's fault. I think Phil Foden needs to look himself in the mirror, mate, and have a word with himself. What are you doing, Phil? Where's this version of Phil Foden? He's just disappeared. Completely gone right now. Pep's decision with the goalkeepers. I'm curious as to what he's doing now. The idea that to go back to Ederson, I think that was a mistake. I don't think Ederson really... He pulled off a great save, Ederson, to save Ahmad's header that could have made it 1-1. But I'm looking at the decision to put Ederson back in to begin with. Ortega has got to be going, right, I'm off. This was the moment. This was the moment for Ortega, for me. This was the part of the season where it's like, right, I'll give you a game in the Premier League, and then he got the game against Juventus, Ederson did. And then Ortega got 2 Premier League games back-to-back. He should have saved that... Well... It's debatable whether he should have saved the first Crystal Palace goal to make it 1-0 Crystal Palace the other week. That's debatable. I feel like he probably should have saved it, Ortega. But is that the reason to withdraw him? The amount of times Ederson should have saved shots this season, last season, the season before. Ederson is not a good goalkeeper when it comes to one-on-one situations. When we are always facing one-on-ones. So that's why I feel like Ortega was a great shout. I said it in my video before Pep made the decision. Pep obviously watches this channel, and he decided to put Ortega in. I thought that was a great decision. It paid off as well, because I thought Ortega had a great game. Kept a clean sheet against Forest. Made a save, a very important one, at 1-0 as well. No, at 0-0, and then we went up the other end and scored. So, yeah, Ortega did the right thing in that situation. To pull him out now, when Ortega's not really done anything wrong, where Ederson doesn't deserve to play today. There must have been logic behind it, though. There must have been, like, the press from United. Ederson with the ball at his feet, we saw a lot of that today. But I've got a question, Pep, for his decision-making with the goalkeepers right now. Because I think it's incredibly harsh to drop Ederson, to drop Ortega again after a tiny little opportunity. 2 games. Is that it? That was his chance to prove himself. He deserves 5 or 6 games at least to see what he can do. See the difference he could make over the span of 6 games. One area where he probably could have saved it against Crystal Palace. Right, you're dropped. That's not on that. I don't think that's on at all. I mean, if I'm Ortega, I'm like, see you later, mate. I'm putting in a transfer request in the summer. And now we've got a problem in the summer. We've not only do we need a new right back. We need another centre back, because I think we can't trust Ake in terms of injuries. We can't trust John Stones in terms of injuries. Jared Branthwaite sounds like a likely option for City, but that sounds like a John Stones 2.0 minus the injuries, hopefully, because it's come from Everton, a young lad coming from Everton. Hopefully the same level of quality as John Stones has provided us over the years. But in terms of the current version of John Stones, he's just not available enough. Neither's Nathan Ake. So we need another centre back. Cover for Rodri, or someone to play alongside Rodri. I think we're going to find that out in January. I feel like City will make the moves in the January to get that player that we need. Who else do we need? I'm really worried about our decision making on the flanks for City, the wingers that we've signed, because these are for the future, and this is the next generation. Savinho and Doku, they are the next generation of Manchester City. Maybe they could shine better in a side that isn't as so devoid of confidence like this Manchester City side is. Maybe they could look better when the team looks better. But you could apply that logic to all of them. I mean, the whole team right now is just an absolute disaster. It's a disaster. And I mean, top four's not looking as a banker, is it? Thankfully Brighton looked piss poor today. In the game, who did they play today? Palace. Palace, and I mean, we look like a good point. The way Palace played today looked like a good point in the end. I think it was Adrian who said that in the first chat in this video, actually. I completely agree. Palace looks like a good point. Elenis, thanks for the super chat, mate. Hope you're good. Pep is hurting more Man City by staying because squad needs rebuild and they won't spend big until new manager with long-term is hired, is what I think. Thank you for the super chat, but I disagree. I don't think they will wait for the new manager, because what that means is they are not going to spend any money until 2 years. Fucking hell. What are we going to do? Oh, yeah. That's a player. I fucking love Oscar Bob, mate. I'm excited for Oscar Bob. He's someone for the next generation of wingers, because when he comes in, Savinho's got his work cut out for getting on that right-hand side, because for me, Oscar Bob should be straight in there. Straight in there. But no, looking at the future of Manchester City, the 115 charges as well, I think that could be logically applied to the January transfer market. I think summer, the decision will be made. We will know what the outcome of those charges are, with me still planting my flag in the ground of innocence. I fully believe Manchester City will be cleared of all charges. I still believe that. I just think it's a matter of waiting now. But the questions will always be asked in contract negotiations with new players we are trying to sign, because they are outsiders. They do not know the circumstances in Manchester City. They have to take the word of Khaldoon Mubarak, Ferran Soriano, Cheeky Begaristain, Pep Guardiola. They all have to persuade these new players that no, we're going to be fine. We're dealing with it legally, and I believe we are dealing with it. It's not a lie. I believe we're going to be found and cleared of all charges. And I feel like that message has to be delivered to every single player that we want to sign until the verdict is given. So the idea that City can go out and spend money in January and every player will just say, yes, please, They will have questions as to say, well, am I going to be a Premier League player next year, or am I going to be a League One player next year? You know, question marks will have to be answered. We'll have to look at it in that regard. So I don't think it's as simple as just going to the January transfer market and snapping your fingers and waving your magic wand and signing any fucking player you want. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like that. You know, there has to be a real difficult negotiation to play. Hey, fair play, Nunes. I'm just watching him. I feel for the guy, man. I feel so sorry for him. He's putting his hand on the City badge and just going round to the City fans and saying sorry. Yeah. It's hard to say anything right now, Matheus Nunes, because the pain is too visceral. It's still there, mate. The apologies accepted. You will be forgiven tomorrow. Not now, though. Tomorrow I'll forgive you. I'll never forget, though. I will never forget, because that was a brutal, brutal piece of football that you've decided to enact on the pitch today to cost Manchester City 3 points in the Manchester derby. A gift, man. A gift. But no, I don't agree with the Pep out thing. I mean, I tell you what, if there is a City content creator out there that has the balls to say Pep out, I will hang you out to fucking dry. So I dare you, whoever it is, I'm not calling anyone out. I don't think anyone will. I don't think anyone will be so stupid to do that. But if there is a City content creator out there, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever, you call out Pep and say you want him out, I will fucking hang you to dry, mate. I guarantee you. Because I think it's shambolic. I really do. And I understand why certain fans are going to say Pep out, because they're panicking. They don't understand. And I can't believe that so many are now saying, I can see it in the chat, like Pep out, Pep out. Like, that's madness. It's a madness. It's insanity. Because one man is not the reason for this. The list is endless, mate, of reasons why Manchester City are struggling right now. And I mean, I've already gone through the majority of them, but it's a catalogue of errors that start from the top of the club and work their way down to the football pitch, unfortunately. These are the circumstances Manchester City are facing right now. But Pep's already pretty much come out and said, yeah, I've made a mistake. The squad was too small. He said they were enough. It was enough. But no one could have foreseen Rodri's season-long injury. And the fact that the season can be so heavily disrupted by one player being injured like that for the whole season is hugely concerning for, obviously, the rest of the season now, but obviously a massive eye-opener as well. But it's not just Rodri. He's not the only reason we're struggling. There's so many problems all over the pitch. Bernardo Silva's age, Walker's age, De Bruyne's age, Gundogan, that's just not good enough, is he? Like, he's just... His legs are gone, and I feel like we would talk about Gundogan. If we'd signed, let's say, 2 more players in summer, I think that could have made somewhat of a difference. If we'd signed an Alvarez replacement, I mean, it was never going to happen in summer. But let's say we signed Wirtz. Yeah, bear with me on that. It's a ridiculous statement because he was never going to go last summer. Possibility next summer, maybe City are going to have to spend 100 to 150 million to make that happen, most likely. Or Musiala, again, same sort of figures. But let's say, hypothetically, we did. That position's covered. Do you know what I mean? De Bruyne injury, no problem. No problem. If you sign Bruno G, if that's the player you consider to be the perfect player, no problem. We would therefore see Gundogan coming on for 20 minutes at the end of games and looking like a superstar, just mopping up in the final moments of games just to make sure we get over the line. That's what the circumstances would have been, and he probably played alongside Kovacic as well. Kovacic has been overly used this season because there's been no Rodri. So I would argue those 2 players would have made not those 2 players as individuals, but those 2 areas of the pitch have cost us so badly that I don't even want to talk about. I don't even think Kyle Walker would have been that big of an area of the pitch as a problem, because I think it stems from the start of the pitch with like zero creativity. And if you're not scoring goals and you're not creating enough chances, that means you need a clean sheet. And if you're not creating the chances and you're not getting the goals, then the pressure then is pushed back to the defence, because the defence therefore needs to keep that clean sheet to salvage a point or potentially 3 out of the game. And that pressure is just insurmountable for some of these players. They cannot handle it and they can't get through the game enough. In between those two problems, you've got a midfield that is just like a puddle. It's a fucking puddle. You just walk past it and it's anonymous. You've got a wet shoe. That's as bad as it is. Do you know what I mean? Other than that, you just dry it off and away you go and get yourself a goal. It's a fucking puddle. Nothing. There's nothing there. You just go past it. So easy. So easy. So it stems from the whole pitch. And then you can even add the fact that we've got an uncertainty around who is our number one now. You know what I mean? It's from front to back. The whole team. From back to front. Front to back. Problems everywhere. Everywhere. So disappointing, man. And arguably, would that 1-0 have changed anything? Probably not. It would have changed the mentality. That's what it would have done. It would have changed the feeling around the club. It would have just beaten United. That's it's great. Beating United. That would have been great. That alone, just that statement, beating United, putting the rags in their place, would have been a very satisfying feeling. But we've fucked it. We've absolutely fucked it, mate. And it's depressing. It is genuinely depressing. I don't know where we go from here as a team, as a fan base now. And I urge you to think about saying Pep out. So rash. Do you know what I mean? Because what you're saying is, by saying Pep out, is, what is it? 2019-20 Premier League 1. 2020-21 Premier League 1. 2021-22 Premier League 1. 22-23 treble. 23-24 four-peat. 24-25 16 games later, from winning 4 in a row, 16 games later, Pep out. Do you understand how mental that sounds? You are turning your back on the man that delivered all of that I just listed for you before that. You turn your back on him for that. He needs our support more than ever now. More than ever. The man's going insane. And that doesn't mean you turn your back on him. You put your fucking arm round him. You put your arm round someone who's struggling. You don't say, fuck off. You're done, mate. You're useless. You're fucking useless for saying Pep out. Fucking clowns, man. Pep out? What the fuck? The guy's a fucking legend. He will go on to be an absolute... He will have a statue outside of this football club when the man is done. Delivering more silverware. I guarantee you he will be here next season. So get over it. Fucking man up. Get behind him. And you're only helping the problem. If you're only exaggerating the problem if you're shouting things like Pep out. Because that's going to do no one any good if you're associated with Manchester City. All you're doing is feeding into this bullshit click fucking world, and everyone get onto the fucking clicks. And so you can say something stupid. The most outlandish thing, the most outlandish statement you can possibly make is the thing that makes you something in life, is it? No, mate, it makes you look like a fucking idiot with zero credibility. Do you know what I mean? Apply some logic to your thinking. Why do you want Pep Guardiola out? Because the club's made huge mistakes. He himself has made a mistake. So what? So what? They all make mistakes. Every human being on this planet makes mistakes relentlessly. We all do. Am I power cutting the watchalong? Is it me? Do you know what I mean? That's like saying Jonny out of Typical City. Shit channel, crap. Watchalong cut out because of the electricity. Is that my fault? No. Do you know what I mean? Mistakes happen. Sometimes in your control, sometimes out of your control. You have to accept that. But to turn your back on the man, it's getting me foaming at the mouth. I'm foaming at the mouth with the frustration of turning your back on Pep Guardiola. That is the one area that I will not allow it. I just will not allow it at all. I think it's shambolic to say such a thing. And I'm sorry if you're a big fan of me and I've said something that's just hurt your feelings, but I'm honestly... You know what I mean? So, who gives a shit? Do you know what I mean? That's what I believe, unfortunately. And I'm sorry, but this man will win silverware for Manchester City. Again, I promise you. I promise you. We will rectify this situation as a football club. He will rectify this situation on and off the pitch. And Manchester City will be lifting trophies again. It's guaranteed. You got to ride this storm right now. You got to go through this feeling that we're feeling. It's grim. It's grim. And I mean, I don't even want to talk about like, but it's not as bad as 1999. Yeah, I was there. I'm not, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant now. the fans that keep saying like, oh, stop whinging about City, because it's the happy clappers versus the doom and gloomers. Now, there is so much room for a conversation in between the two. Why does it have to be you're either a happy clapper or a fucking doom and gloomer? Why can't we have a conversation in between? Why can't we discuss there's so much to discuss in between? Because it isn't being positive. I respect the happy clappers more than the doom and gloomers, because their faith is like, I'm jealous of their faith. Man, fair play to them for still believing. Like, fair play to them. Do you know what I mean? The doom and gloomers, I would argue, yeah, it's realistic. Do you know what I mean? But Pep out is another level of stupidity and doom and glooming. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, that's ridiculous. That's too far the other way. But there's ample room for a nice, pleasant, not nice, it's not nice at all, but a rational conversation to be had between City are going to win the league still. We're going to turn this round. Surely there's very few of them still about, unfortunately. And Pep out. Surely there's so much, and I feel like I am talking to the minority of people here, but unfortunately the minority of people have a very loud voice nowadays. It's a shame. A very loud voice. You only need to look at that absolute prick that fucking called out Kyle Walker and called him what he called him on Instagram for the racial abuse. That guy is probably buzzing off it, that fucking cretin, for saying what he said about Kyle Walker. An absolute disgrace of a human being. And people are aware of him now. He's like, oh, my little 5 minutes of fame for saying something to a football player that hurt his feelings. Mate, yeah, you're a sham. You're a fucking disgrace. Do you know what I mean? Like, the minority have power, unfortunately, because they've got a big fucking gob, the minority. So, really, really disappointing to see the circumstances worsening for Manchester City. And it's so disheartening to see that football fan bases now are only black or white. And I'm not talking about skin colour. I'm talking about decisions in terms of City are the best team in the world and City are the worst team in the world. Everything's so definitive in life now. There is no room for conversations in life anymore. You're 100% Manchester City are going to win the league, or you're 100% Pep out. Where is the route, that conversation in between? Why can't we talk about it? Do you know what I mean? Why can't we rationalise the situation a little bit and apply logic to these circumstances? Because there's so many problems, and they're not all Pep Guardiola's fault. Some of them definitely are. Definitely are. And he'll be the first to admit that. But this fan base, it astounds me to know that we are capable in large numbers, because I'm seeing it there. You're all there. Like, a lot of it, I mean, it's died down since I've gone on a rant, to be honest. But 5 minutes ago, there was plenty of Pep out. But I think I've shut them down, so I'm sure one will pop up now I've said that. But honestly, like, it's just so disappointing. So disappointing. But yeah, I think the fan base need to try their best to stick together in this situation. Try your best. And having differing opinions is one thing, but turning your back on the club is another thing for me, and I don't think that's acceptable. And not in the sense that if you want to be considered a City fan, I don't think it's acceptable. Do you know what I mean? If you want to be a City fan, then you don't turn your back on them, you know. But the problem for me is the such strong statements from people like Peppa. Hey, listen, if I went tomorrow and decided to be like, I care more about getting YouTube views and getting clicks, I could just make a Pep out video, mate, and I'd get fucking so many more views. So many more views. It's guaranteed. Guaranteed. Because people click on idiots. Do you know what I mean? People click on the most moronic thing you can think of. If you come up with the most stupid fucking statement, if you want to live your life like that, though, do you want to walk out of that video? If I made that video with Pep Guardiola out, Pep out. If I made that video, Pep out, I am done with Pep Guardiola. Something like that. If I said something as stupid as that in a video, then, yeah, guaranteed clicks. But I would walk out of that video with, like, it was shame, mate. Shame on you. Do you know what I mean? Guaranteed clicks, though. Guaranteed. So go for it, mate. If you want that to be your legacy as a YouTuber, do you know what I mean? We're fucking fans, mate. So many of us YouTubers here think we're fucking what? We all think we're fucking pundits now, don't we? Like, we think we're bigger than the media. So many of these pundits that are getting compared to YouTubers now, like they're better. The mainstream media is one thing, yeah, and I think it's crap, a lot of what gets said in there, but there is some credibility to it. But there's some YouTubers now, and not just YouTubers, Twitter, Instagram, even fucking Facebook, mate. You got random fuckos on there as well that are just coming out with absolute drivel, and they want to be taken seriously. Do you know what I mean? How can you be taken seriously and to say Pep Guardiola out? The same as some of the things. I mean, listen, right? I saw. Listen, I don't know what is like life like as a City fan, but I saw Boovy yesterday. I don't really follow him at all, to be honest, because I do consider him to be. He seems like an all right guy, but I mean, in terms of a City fan, he just seems a bit eccentric. Seems a bit more about the clicks than more about the club, you know. And that's where I turn my nose up to you at that point. If you're more about making a channel than you are about the club, because put it this way, if someone gave me an opportunity, City win the league this year, and if you don't make any videos for the rest of the season, City will win the league. Oh, you won't see me for a fucking 6 months. I'll be gone. Do you know what I mean? I don't care. I want City to win the league, mate. That's what I want. That's why I'm sat here fucking sweating and getting fucking red in the... Oh, they're not that red, actually. But anyway, I'm sweating and getting all fucking flustered over Manchester City losing the game. Do you know what I mean? He said Saka and Palmer. That's who City should be targeting. Saka and Palmer. That for me, that's what I'm talking about. Listen, Boovy might be a lovely guy, might be a really nice guy, I'm sure he is. But there's the level of what I'm trying to do here and talk to you guys about, and I'm trying to express how you don't need to be that. You don't need to be the guy who's just more about the clicks, but claiming to be a City fan and saying as ridiculous things as that. You know, and Rory Jennings as well, he said, what did he say about Haaland 2 years ago? That made him who he is. Do you know what I mean? Without that stupid statement, Rory Jennings, that blew him up. That made him go more viral. Do you know what I mean? That made him do better. Saying stupid things can do wondrous things for you in life. But, you know what I mean? What's that girl? What's she called? Cash Me Outside. How about that? That girl. Do you know what I mean? What's she doing with her life now? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Where's your pride, mate? Like, where's your fucking, like, the reality of you? Where's your credibility? And it all stemmed, this has all come from people saying Pep out. And I'm dreading the moment genuine creators start to say it. And I pray that doesn't happen. I pray it doesn't happen. I really do. I will call you out. I have no problem with that. And I will name and shame you. I have no problem with that either. I've already done it, kind of, really. So I don't care, to be honest. I'm not arsed in the slightest. But it's a sham. It really is. It's disgraceful. To say Pep out, but that's enough defending Pep, because I mean he has made massive mistakes this season. Very shocking decisions with the genuinely shocking decisions to see. I couldn't believe Ederson started today after Ortega's starts previous games. Cash me outside. But the team need to look at themselves. The club needs to look. We just got to ride the storm, Blues. I think that's it. We just need to ride this storm, accept we are in the shit big time right now. We've got so much to do, so much to fix. It's a massive, massive problem. It's damage limitation almost at this point, but I don't agree with changing tactics aggressively in terms of the whole philosophy. When you say drop deeper, drop the defence deeper is what people are saying. I mean, it was nothing to do with the high line today, was it? It's just errors. Again, something I was saying in the previous video, that if you cut these errors out, that we would probably be gifting goals away. So it's nothing to do with the high line. But when you say you want City to drop deeper, what are you planning to do with the midfield then? Drop them deeper as well? Or do you want that gap between midfield and defence to make it harder to get out from the back? Or be more susceptible to because all that, if you drop the deeper, the forward can fill that gap between defence and midfield. You know, there's so many ploys that can be applied to just dropping deeper. You know, it's a simple logic to apply, but you are inviting pressure on. And that would worsen the situation. We'd lose more games by higher scorelines as a result. Because this defence is shot. It's shot for confidence. We are dead. They have no belief at all. They're terrified going onto this pitch right now. And to drop them deeper would just make it a harder job for them to get close to a clean sheet. And we were minutes away from a clean sheet again, and it's a mistake. And I'm absolutely gutted, But you look at the same problems in midfield, not the same problems, but equal size, equal severity of problems in midfield with Gundogan playing as much football as he is. It was alarming to see how poor we became when the substitutions happened as well. Like, Kovacic came on, and I don't think he was the problem, and I don't think he made a single mistake. I think Kovacic came on and looked pretty good. But as a team, Gundogan going in further advanced up the pitch, we looked worse. We just had no control over the game. Really, at any point, it felt like quite a bit of an end-to-end game, really, where without excitement, it was quite a bad game, actually, in terms of the standard of football that was being played. It was poor, very poor, from both sides, who were both devoid of confidence. But I would argue, and something I said in the watch-along, was that United have been that shit for that long that they're used to this. They know how to handle situations like this. When you're in a moment where you're devoid of confidence, you could potentially snatch something from the game. They have experience in doing that. They have experience of being in this strange situation where you just don't win most games and you drop points. Silly points are being dropped. United have all the experience in the world of doing that. Whereas Manchester City, we are trotting on foreign ground right now. We have no idea what to do in this situation. And it showed today that when the going gets tough, we don't know what to do. There was a moment in the first half where Doku did this dodgy back pass to Edison, similar to the Gvardiol back pass that was Feyenoord's first goal before they went on to make it 3-3. It was a stupid little side foot up in the air. Edison's got to control it or just clear it. He had to use his head, didn't he? Dodgy back pass where he had to come out and clear it with his head. From that moment, there was about 5 or 6 mistakes that happened from multiple City players. A Nunes pass across the face of goal. Gvardiol got caught on the ball at the halfway. Other side of the pitch, Bernardo Silva gives it away. Doku again gets caught on the ball. Within the space of 5 minutes, one mistake where City looked reasonably in control, and then all of a sudden one mistake, and their heads implode, and it's just like, what? Why? Why do you let it rattle you so much? Why do you let it bother you so much? Just like, it's okay. Mistakes happen. Just don't make the second mistake. Don't make the third mistake. You look at Nunes. Bad back pass. Terrible. Edison comes charging out of his goal and doesn't commit. He's slowed down Ahmad. Gave Nunes the opportunity to get back. But instead of being calm and composed and getting your body in front of him, make Ahmad do something, rather than just smashing him, just absolutely wiping him out, you made a second mistake. Instead of just sticking with the first mistake, relaxing, calming your brain, just think, right, okay, made the mistake, let's go and fix it. Not go and fucking fix it and like ruin it. Do you know what I mean? Double down with the mistake. It's a defensive error that's very, very common in the game as well. One mistake leads to panic and then rash decision to go flying into a tackle. And that's what you get when you play a midfielder as a right back. Because they don't know what they're doing in that situation. Like his heart was in the right place. Obviously, go back and get the ball. Obviously, that's the right thing to do. But the way he went about it was catastrophic. The second goal, which I've only seen a very small clip of because I was busy dealing with the house's electrics as the second went in. But a long ball over the top. I need to look at the marking there because that looked very easy to just dink one over the top. It was a good touch. Edison comes flying out of his goal. Should he have come out like that? If you're going to come out, make sure you do something, mate. Take him out, get yourself a red card or whatever. Do something other than just let him pass you and put it into the empty net. I felt sorry for Gvardiol, who was on the goal line trying to prevent it. He just got his legs tangled, didn't he? And he ended up not preventing it from going in. There weren't any chances though for City. You know, outside of our goal, it's not like we created a bag full of chances and we can be talking about loads and loads of chances and like, oh, we were unlucky there. We didn't create anywhere near enough. And I would argue United weren't much of a threat either, to be honest. And we end up losing the game. That seems to be the way it goes for City right now, is we play football matches, we don't have enough threat, neither does the opposition, yet they have enough threat to actually win the game. You know, very disappointing, very disappointing. Sorry I've been a bit negligent with the chat today, but it is good to see you guys in the chat, and I appreciate you tuning in to hear me bitch and moan about City. Please hit that like button if you haven't already, because it helps the channel and whatnot. Because I'm looking forward to my pep out video tomorrow. Get some clicks. Let's get some clicks. Pep out. Come on. Right, I'm going to. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm going to go and feel sad. I think that's what I am going to do. I'm going to go and feel very, Very sad. Depressed. He's got scratches on the back of his head as well. Pep as well. Pep sounded totally depressed in the press conference. I can imagine, mate. I can imagine. Sagnick wants a quick question before I shoot off. Lobotka from Napoli can solve Man City problem. What do I think? I mean, there's so many problems, mate. So many problems that I don't think he would solve the club's problems. I think that it's just too many problems to fix. It's an interesting subject. I mean, I was answering questions about Paul Pogba in the watch along as well. I mean, Paul Pogba, mate, fucking hell. Luckily, she knows better. She knows better than to take the piss. We don't speak. Anyone who's wondering, the missus is a big United fan, so she'll be loving it. But we don't speak on Derby Day, really. We just go our separate ways. We don't talk about it. We do speak in terms of, like, you know, hello. But we don't talk about football, really. That's all. Because it just... We've been there, done that, and it didn't work out. It ends up getting a bit feisty. So, yeah, we don't talk about football. Especially not when City lose. It's more that case. But, I mean, lately it's been nothing but United losing, hasn't it? The last 4 years, there's been plenty of conversations that I wish we could have had. But I respect her feelings. So if she comes at me, she's... she probably won't be watching. But, I mean, yeah, anyway. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Right. I'm trying to find something to end the stream on a positive note, but I have nothing. I have nothing to give you. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just pure, unadulterated depression. That's what I have to give you. It's grim. Grim. I'm just looking forward to next season now. Do you know what I mean? I'm looking forward to maybe could we blag our way through an FA Cup, because the FA Cup doesn't even start till January, does it? Or does it? Have they changed that? I can't remember. But Salford, mate, I'm worried about that game. I'm worried about Salford. But FA Cup, Champions League is ridiculous to even think is like the way we play now. It's not good enough. Not good enough. I'm worried about even getting out of the league. Obviously, the league, Premier League, has now become top 4. Best case scenario is like 3rd, maybe 2nd. That would be great, amazing if we could finish 2nd or 3rd. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to next season now, and I see this season as who is good enough to make it into the next generation of Manchester City players. I feel like this is that season now where we look at it and learn about who's getting axed and who's getting a continuation as a Manchester City player, who gets to carry on playing for this fantastic football club that is Manchester City. Who? Because the numbers are starting to dwindle, unfortunately. The numbers are getting lower. I'm worried about goalkeeping, mate. I'm really worried about it. I think people are underestimating the importance of our goalkeeper and underestimating the uncertainty that Pep Guardiola is showing by playing Ederson today after dropping Ortega, after dropping Ederson, and then bringing it, and then, you know what I mean? You can't keep dropping him, mate, after a mistake. That's a problem on the horizon. We could end up needing 2 goalkeepers, and then that's a huge portion of the budget. That will be huge portion. If you need 2 goalkeepers, because they both need to be class. That's a large amount of money. You're looking at spending 50, 60, maybe 70 million on 2 goalkeepers, at least. And then you want a superstar midfielder, Havertz, Musiala. You want a superstar midfielder, what, 60 to 100 million it could be for Bruno G, and if we were to get him over the line, because the figures I'm hearing are all over the place. And then, obviously, we need a right-back. We need a new centre-back. We've got a war chest. It's there. The money's there. But it's going to be a big, big upheaval. And then the question is, can those players hit the ground running? So next season might not be as easy. There might be a lot of learning curves for these players to go through. So next season could be really interesting as well, in terms of how easy City go and waltz to a Premier League title. I don't think it will be easy next season, but it will certainly be better than this. Certainly be better than this. Definitely. Blues, also, massive, massive apology for my stream just cutting out, man. I'm gutted about that. Gutted about that. So sorry to everybody who was tuning in. I also saw you all stayed in the chat as well. You all stayed in the chat, and I came back to it, and you're all talking to each other. So I'm buzzing that there is a community that is good enough there that you don't even need me, and you're all happy having a chat with each other. Buzzing. Happy for you, man. I'm love that. That's really good. So yeah, I'm glad you guys stuck around. Maybe if you were hoping that I came back, apologies I didn't. But yeah, honestly, I appreciate you tuning in. And I appreciate you tuning into this one as well. So don't forget to hit the like button on your way out. Before I shoot off, though, I want to read this last super chat out from 321 Biter. Followed him for 50 years. It can get worse. You're absolutely right, mate. I want to try and avoid that sort of logic, though. Do you know what I mean? I know what you mean. You're absolutely right. It can get worse, but the standards have changed now at City. That's the thing. Is that I was there, mate. Obviously, you're older than me. But when we were bad, we were obviously terrible. But we weren't expecting to win Premier Leagues when we were that bad. Do you know what I mean? We were like, any win will do, you know? But yeah, you're absolutely right. Things can 100% get worse. I completely agree. But yeah, the expectancy's gone up. The problems have gotten up with it. Back in the mid-90s and late 90s, like, the expectancy was down here. The problems were down there. Do you know what I mean? Like, it goes up and down with the expectancy level, doesn't it? And our expectancy level at Manchester City now is incredibly high. Most City fans are quietly thinking about multiple trophies every season. Dare I say a treble here or there. Now we've got a little taste for it. Do you know what I mean? So when we fail to do that, failing is one thing, but failing as badly as we're failing right now is another thing. And I think this is why you see so many City fans like infuriated. But I draw the line at Pep out. That's where I draw the line in terms of criticism. But yeah, you're all entitled to your opinions. And I appreciate every one of you for tuning in. Where we go from here is beyond me. But again, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Don't let it ruin your weekend too much. It's destroyed my weekend. But I hope you enjoy the rest of yours. Take care, Blues, and I will see you in the next one.